What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Sunday, October 24th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 5-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. So I'm just going to give you 2 studs that I like here at the point guard position. We got some value plays at the other positions, but I'm going to pay up for Stephen Curry from the Golden State Warriors playing the Sacramento Kings, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Stephen Curry has averaged 61 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 34% usage rate. He's projected at 48.2 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 50 fantasy points or more, even 55 fantasy points or more, and get you 5 times value or more. He's 11,000 DraftKings salary, 800 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game. Stephen Curry scored 66 fantasy points last game in 37 minutes and 57 fantasy points in 36 minutes. So it might be a letdown game from Stephen Curry, but it's going to be hard to fade him. So I'm going to have a lineup with Stephen Curry. So I like Stephen Curry here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, now the other stud that I like, if you want to save some salary here with a guy who's got 50 plus fantasy point upside, a little bit risky because his first game didn't go so well, but he had a good game too. So I like Russell Westbrook from the LA Lakers playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 8th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Russell Westbrook has averaged 33 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 52.9 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.7 times value because he's only 9,300 DraftKings salary and he's 200 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 220.5 points scored in this game, so I think Russell Westbrook can hit 50 fantasy points here tonight and get you 5 times value or more. So I like Russell Westbrook here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position and let's save some salary at this position. I like Jalen Suggs from the Orlando Magic playing the New York Knicks, who have the 3rd worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Jalen Suggs has averaged 25.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 19.1 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 25 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,200 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 215.5 points scored in this game. Now, the projections are a little bit off until we get 3 games played by all of the NBA teams. And then we're going to update our projection code and we use the point per minute based on the average minutes that they're playing per game over the last 5 games. So you're going to get a more accurate projection numbers coming tomorrow. So some of these projections, they're just based on not a lot of data here, but you see Jalen Suggs scored 38 fantasy points in 31 minutes last game, but he only scored 14 fantasy points in 30 minutes his first game. So I think he'll be somewhere in the middle here tonight. So I like Jalen Suggs here versus the New York Knicks. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, now here's a value play for you. I like D'Anthony Melton from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the LA Lakers, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. D'Anthony Melton has averaged 33.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 18.5 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 25 fantasy points or more in this one and get you way over 5 times value. He's only $4,200 DraftKings salary. He's $1,100 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 220.5 points scored in this game. D'Anthony Melton scored 36 fantasy points last game in 33 minutes, and he scored 32 fantasy points in 30 minutes in his first game of the season. So I like D'Anthony Melton here versus the LA Lakers. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors playing the Sacramento Kings, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. Although they've been pretty good versus opposing small forwards, Andrew Wiggins has averaged 28.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 30.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $6,000 DraftKings salary, $900 more on FanDuel, and we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game, so a high-scoring game and a good game to stack. So I like Andrew Wiggins here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, now if you're looking for another value play here, take a look at Carmelo Anthony from the LA Lakers playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 10th worst defense overall. Although they've been pretty good versus opposing small forwards, Carmelo Anthony has averaged 21.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 25 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 20.6 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 24 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's $4,600 DraftKings salary, same price on FanDuel. So he scored 18 fantasy points in his first game, playing 26 minutes. Then he scored 25 fantasy points last game, playing 24 minutes. So I think he's going to put in a solid 20 to 25 fantasy points in this one. May not be the sexiest play, but I think he can hit value. So I like Carmelo Anthony here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Julius Randle from the New York Knicks playing the Orlando Magic, who have the 2nd worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Julius Randle has averaged 55.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 34% usage rate. He's projected at 42.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value. He's $8,700 DraftKings salary, $800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 215.5 points scored in this game. It's a fantastic matchup. This is one of my favorite plays on the slate, so I like Julius Randle here versus the Orlando Magic. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, now if you want to save some salary here at the power forward position, a little bit of risk here because you don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but he was super productive in his first game of the season. So take a look at Al Horford from the Boston Celtics playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 10th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing power forwards. Al Horford has averaged 36.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 29 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary and 300 less on FanDuel. So I like that price on both sites. I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more in this one, even if he only plays around 25 minutes. So I like Al Horford here versus the Houston Rockets. Now, another stud on the slate that I like a lot here tonight. This guy's got monster upside and his salary's pretty reasonable right now. I like Jayson Tatum from the Boston Celtics. And Jayson Tatum, he's averaged 38.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He's projected at 43.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 8,800 DraftKings salary, and he's 1,000 more on FanDuel. So I love that DraftKings price. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 224.5 points scored in this game. I think Jayson Tatum can put up 50 plus fantasy points in this one and crush value. So I like Jayson Tatum here versus the Houston Rockets. Now real quick, another couple of mid-range plays that I like here. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies at 6,400 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel. He's averaging 33.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. And I also like Wendell Carter Jr. from the Orlando Magic. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 300 less on FanDuel. He's averaging 31.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. Now, Wendell Carter Jr. played 18 minutes his first game, but he played 30 minutes last game, and he scored 35 fantasy points. So I think he's interesting play, just depending on how many minutes he's going to get. So I like Wendell Carter Jr. here versus the New York Knicks. Okay, moving on to the center position. Okay, so you can play Julius Randle as a center. You can play Al Horford as a center. And I guess the stud on the slate is Anthony Davis from the LA Lakers playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They've been pretty good versus opposing centers. And Anthony Davis has averaged 54.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 39 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. Now, this projection is way too low. I think he can score 50 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. He's 9,400 DraftKings salary, 1,200 more on FanDuel. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 220.5 points scored in this game. So I like Anthony Davis here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. So I kind of used up my center picks. You can also play Jaren Jackson Jr. at the center position and Wendell Carter Jr. at the center position. So those are my picks here tonight, guys. Have fun, everyone, and good luck.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.